Xbox Series X! Good evening, everyone. This is your boy, the Insane Game Freak. Today, we're going to talk about Xbox Series X. Now, the Series X has been out for over a year now, so there's real no need to go over all of the technical specs because that's not what this review is. This review isn't coming from the perspective of who's like, if you don't know about game consoles and you haven't watched any sort of gaming news and you haven't done any real research for yourself, this is the console for you. No, that's not what we're doing here. This is from the perspective of a person who owns a Nintendo Switch, a PlayStation 4 Pro, and a PC that can be used, I won't say primarily, but can be used for gaming. This is from a guy who's played Xbox very little in his life. For God's sakes, I didn't even start using these fucking controllers until about a year ago, and it wasn't even for an Xbox console I was picking it up for. I was picking it up for the PC I'm using to record this video review on. And it wasn't until about a month ago that I decided, you know what, I got some time, and I had $500 in cash, that I said, you know what, fuck it. I've been talking all this shit about Xbox, of them as Microsoft's handling of the console and the console itself and the games it produces. Let's have a legit, honest conversation about it with me actually using the fucking console I talk so much shit about. So that's what this is. We're going to talk about an Xbox console from the perspective of a guy who's barely played any Xbox in his life and didn't use the controller for the first time until about a year ago. So let's start with the basics, and we're actually going to start with the ending instead of the beginning. Should you own this console? Well, if you're an Xbox gamer or someone who's owned a decent amount of Xbox consoles, you know, the other three of them, you probably already own this console or are about to buy this console, or pretty much the whole premise is the answer isn't if, the answer is when. When I get this console, I'm going to play this, that, and the third. No, this is more for those who are like, I see it over there. I heard it has an appealing price point and it has some games on it that you can play, and it looks really good on a 4K OLED TV. But for some reason, I can't justify buying one, which was the position I was in. Couldn't justify buying one. Even when I bought one, it was one of those, I'm not excited for a new console. It was more of, hey, bro, I heard you got an Xbox Series X. Oh, that's right, I did buy one. The console just kind of fucking exists. It's one of those consoles that I say, if you were a budget gamer, I could completely understand why you want to buy it. Games nowadays are $60, going up into $70 and $80 depending on where you're buying them from and what edition of that game you're buying. Online, for all the major consoles, are at least around $60, with the Switch being slightly cheaper but with less features. So it might as well just be $60 at this point. And you're sitting there going, do I really want to spend all this money and invest it on a console that I'm more than likely going to end up using as a media player? That's the other thing. This has been going on since the PS3, where people was like, I'm using Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and Paramount Plus and ESPN Plus and CNN. Oh, we don't talk about that one. But the point I'm making is you're using this thing more as a Blu-ray streaming device at this point than a game console. And other than the Switch, the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, all do that type of shit. So it's got to be for the games. That's why you buy an Xbox Series X. It's got to be the motherfucking games. Because like I said, if you're gaming on a budget, this console's perfect. Why? Well, if you ever own an Xbox Series Xbox anything before, and you still have physical games that you from time to time I wish I could go back and play these without having to pull out a fucking console to do so. Well, the Xbox Series X plays every major Xbox console and most of the major Xbox games that you would want to go back and you give a fuck about. So that's why you buy it, right? You buy it because you can then play the old school Halos and Blinks, the Cat, and all this other shit on your Xbox console. Well, wait a minute. What about the new title? What about the exclusives? Well, Game Pass already has you covered there because you get newer titles, not the newest, unless it's Xbox or I think EA related, because those are like the only two games that come out like day and date on Game Pass. But everything else, you'll get that was maybe like a year or so old. and they're throwing on the service because why not? And then, some of them might get rotated out because Xbox Game Pass isn't really a consistent thing. It's not a building library, it's a rotating library. So the only thing that really gets built up is the Xbox and EA related exclusives. So to me, it's really just the Xbox stuff. Well, that means you should be able to play all the best Xbox games. They got their games that remind you of Uncharted, right? They got their games that remind you of Mario. They got them games that remind you of Fire Emblem. They got them games that remind you of fucking Ratchet and Clank, right? They got all these variation of titles that would be great substitutes in case you didn't care for Uncharted. Maybe you didn't care for Ratchet and Clank. Maybe you didn't care for Spider-Man, Miles Morales or otherwise. You didn't care for a Fire Emblem. You didn't care for a Xenoblade. You didn't care for a Mario. You didn't care for Horizon. You didn't care for Zelda Breath of the Wild. Well, what's that? No, not at all. Well, come on. Xbox has a bunch of myriad of IPs that they can use. But what about Killer Instinct? Oh, the game you can play for free on PC right now. Oh, well, what about Cuphead? Oh, you mean the game you can play on Switch right now and PC? Oh, well, what about Sunset Overdrive? Oh, the game you can play on PC right now. Well, come on, man. What about Super Lucky Sale? Oh no, you mean the game you can play on Switch, PC, and fucking PlayStation 4 right now? Well, come on, man. What about State of Decay 2? State of Decay 2 you can only play on Xbox. Oh, you mean the game that was broken and a fucking mess and plays like absolute ass and had maybe a nugget of a good idea in there, but the execution was so bad, no one gave a... But State of Decay 3 is coming. That's going to be better. Based off what? Based off of what? What about Crackdown 3? Oh, you mean the game that they showed off for like 3 to 4 years and when it finally came out was a piece of shit? Come on, man. What about Halo Infinite? What about Halo Infinite? Oh, you mean the one good title? The one good title. What about Battletoads? Oh, you mean the Flash game? Oh, I mean, I guess. Yeah, sure. Oh, wait, no, you can play that on PC also. So what the fuck, man? What can I play that's like a new, unique experience I can't get on any other console? Halo, Gears, and Forza. Yeah. Halo, Gears, and Forza. I guess Hellblade, but oh, that's right. Hellblade's on Switch. It's on PC. And because Microsoft has shown no interest in keeping their games to their consoles, you have no reason to specifically buy them on Xbox hardware. What about Ori? Also on Switch and PC. What the fuck, man? So I'm spending $500 to play games I can literally play on other consoles? Yeah, you pretty much are. So why would I buy the shit then? You know what? I asked myself that same question. In the first day that I purchased it online, the third or fourth day when I got the box, the fifth day when I streamed me unboxing the bitch, the sixth day when I started playing games on it, the seventh day when I started Psychonauts 2 and started that little excursion. Was the game good? Oh yeah, the game was great actually. It had its problems, but overall it's a great experience. And you were still, day 27, right before I had to make a decision of whether or not I was going to keep this thing or return it. And what's the conclusion you came up with? Oh, I still have it. Actually, it's right over there. You can't see it because there's a box of those cheddar cheese fish in the way. But yeah, it's right over there. Well, what the fuck, man? You still have the box, but you had all these negatives about it. Why not? What? Why not? So your answer is to why you should own an Xbox. Oh, well, I was never trying to convince you of owning one. I was just giving you my experience. So you wouldn't say it's a good console? Oh no, as a console, it's fine. Great airflow, doesn't really overheat, doesn't make a lot of noise. Visually looks all right. I actually like the design of the thing. I can hold it up like a tower. I can turn the bitch sideways. It still gets the proper airflow and ventilation. Has a slot in the back, so if I want to buy a proprietary extra SD storage, I can do that too. Game Pass is what, $1 a month for your first time, and then you can, it's $15 a month to get pretty much Xbox Live Gold and this giant library of titles that may at the most be a new-ish. They're new-ish. They're not old. And then for Xbox titles, the 3 or 2 you give a fuck about, hey, they're on there too, day and date. You sound so apathetic, though. You sound so inherently apathetic to having this as an option? Well, the reason to that would be simply because it's nothing to get excited about. Like, it really isn't. This, like I said before, early in the video, before I went on this tangent in the first place, if you're a person who's gaming on a budget, it's great, because that means because you're only really spending money on the console and Game Pass. And if you have old Xbox content, you can just slide that bitch in. It has all the modern features a PlayStation 5 would have. You play games at 4K 60 and all in performance mode and all that other dumb shit. All those things are there. You got xCloud in some form or fashion, and obviously that'll improve over time. It's a fine console. But why did you? I mean, come on, it's a review, man. You should be more excited about the console. Why? It's a console. It has a controller that fits nice and it's very smooth to use, very enjoyable to use. It has a stupid battery issue that, for some reason, it's the only console manufacturer that said, we're not going to give you the option to not use batteries. You're just going to keep using batteries. But other than that, like, realistically, that's like the only thing of worth complaining about. That and Xbox's first party endeavors are pretty fucking ass. So yeah, it's a good console, has good third party support. Almost every major third party game ends up on the bitch. Xbox has made a lot more efforts in recent years, I would say during the Xbox One era, to get different genre of games on their console. The problem is that their fan base doesn't give a fuck about it. So can I really blame the console for the fact that they now have the games they should have had on there before, and the fan base doesn't give a fuck? It's not really Xbox's fault, at least now. It used to be because they didn't put any effort in. Now they're putting effort in, and gamers just don't care. Because when you grow up with Final Fantasy on Sony platforms, you have no inherent reason to switch over unless you just happen to have an Xbox. The console's good. If you wanted to just stop the review at simply, is the console good? Is it worth owning? Sure. Especially because everybody has a backlog. And at least a couple of the games you're trying to catch up on are probably on this fucking system. That's it. Do you like Halo? You probably already have the fucking console. Or you're playing it on PC. You like Forza? Same difference. Like, there's no point in pushing out the game. What about Hellblade 2? If you give a fuck about these titles, you probably either own this console or are planning to own it. That's not what this was for. If you're a Nintendo fan who likes Fire Emblem, is there a Fire Emblem representation type of game on there? Yeah, but it's probably a third-party title that you can fucking play on your PC or your PlayStation. I mean, you can find replacement type games for those genres, but if you're someone who's interested in buying an Xbox for the Xbox experience, let me tell you, the Xbox experience is literally the same kind of experience you can get on a PC with just less options. That is literally it. It's like a PC experience with less options. But then again, so is PlayStation. It's the same premise. It's a PC-like experience with less options. The thing that made the PlayStation brand different was exclusives, which, hey, Xbox has some exclusives, but they're only, I mean, is that enough for you to spend $500 on? Not particularly. Well, are you gonna? But you have the console, bro. Are you gonna keep it? Yeah, I mean, it's already here. I got it hooked up. And besides, if nothing else, when people come over, it'll be my entertainment center. So you're just sitting here downing the console. I'm not really downing the console. I just acknowledge the fact that the console's just what it is. In the grand scheme of things, it didn't make sense for me to think that me buying the bitch was going to make that much of a difference, but I'm also a tech guy. That's just kind of what I do. And now I can openly say I own an Xbox console. That's probably, to be fair, this is probably the best Xbox console to own. If you're going to own an Xbox console and you feel that you need to own a Xbox console, this is the one you buy. Don't get it twisted. This is the best Xbox console made currently in 2022. But if you fuck with Kirby, you fuck with Animal Crossing, you fuck with Ratchet and Clank, you fuck with Infamous, you fuck with these other titles that are on other systems, this console will not make you change your fucking mind at all. At all. You're still gonna love Infamous. But hey, you can play Call of Duty on here. You play NBA 2K20, whatever the fuck. You can still play the things you want to play. It's just another fucking console. It's another fucking console. It's just a different brand of the same kind of box with its own vibe for it. It's just, unfortunately, compared to everything else, Nintendo, PlayStation, and PC, it's the most boring kind of vibe you can get. Like, do I like it? I don't hate it. I don't love it either. It's fine. The best thing about the fucking thing is this phone app. The phone app, I think, is probably the best app between the consoles. It's fucking great. Fucking love that phone app. But like, if that's the best thing I can really get excited about is the fucking phone app, that should already tell you that's what the Xbox Series X is to me. It's a game console that does exactly what it wants to do well. It just doesn't do anything for anyone who wasn't interested in to begin with. Like, if you weren't interested in Xbox to begin with, this is not going to change your mind. It's actually more of a detriment to own if you don't have any Xbox history. Because I can't really take like real advantage of the backwards compatibility because I never owned 360 games or Xbox One games. I recently just bought Sonic Unleashed for the thing. That's the first Xbox title I've ever owned. And I had to go buy it because I didn't own it already. So really, if you own an Xbox One Series X and it's not, or if you were looking for a game console that you want in the front of your house where your other ones are probably dedicated to either personal gaming or streaming, it works for that because it's a good console and a lot of your friends probably have, somebody in your friend group has Xbox games. So they want to go back in time and play fucking the original Mass Effect trilogy and not buy the new one for whatever reason. You can do that. But yeah, that's the Xbox Series X review. Own it or don't. It really don't make a fucking difference. It really don't make a goddamn difference. This is like it's a console that fucking exists, and I'm only keeping it because I'm not dying for money. But hey, when I am dying for money, this will be a good budget console to play on. Because I only got to spend $15 to get access to a fuck ton of games. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I guess thanks for watching the video, and tell me, what consoles do you own, and do you want to go buy an Xbox Series X? I feel like this is like an offensive sign somewhere, and it probably is. I'm going to uncross my arms, and I'm going to respectfully say, thank you all for watching, and good night, everybody. Life's a game, play to win, and I will catch you guys later. Peace. Oh, fuck, I'm going to jail. I'm demonetized now. Good night, everyone. I guess I kind of love you. I don't know.